Hi guys, Maska here from Allvac Group. I'm here to take you through the training on our Allvac AV8000C, our combination unit. You'll notice that some of the clips in this video relate back to our AV7000 hydrovac. So we always do a pre-start every morning before we start. So we're going to check the levels, oil levels, water levels, we're going to check our tyres, and we're going to check road user before we start. Then in the cab here, I'm going to show you that we only put in handbrake alarm and 2 switches for the work lights and the beacons. Now bear in mind that the beacons will also start whenever we turn the PTO on. And if it's a rental unit, it'll have our E-road in it as well. So here we're going to talk about the filtration of the cyclone and the filters before it goes into the vacuum pump. So we've got our primary shut-off at the top of the truck. It comes into the cyclone shut-off here, so the air comes in the side here and spins. With any moisture dropping out in the middle is a vortex, which will be emptied out through here. Now really important that we empty this here every time we unload the back. So whether we open the door up or whether we're pushing product out the back, every time we unload we always empty this here, really crucial. From there it goes through a vacuum brake, which we'll talk about later, and comes through this 4-way valve. This 4-way valve will operate the vacuum as either in vacuum or pressure. So we're in neutral. When we hop out of the cab, we're going to go through and we're going to push it into vacuum. That'll give us the ability to do our sucking that we need to do. If we ever get a blockage in our suction boom, we can pressurise this unit. How we do that is we neutralise it slowly like that and go across to pressure. And that'll blow any blockage out of the vacuum system, whether it be hoses or boom. The air exhausts out through here and it comes down through here into this final filter. This final filter, we can always tell when we're operating by these 2 gauges whether we're operating correctly. One's before the filter and one's after the filter. If there's a discrepancy on these gauges here, we know we've got a partially blocked filter. So one might be showing that it's sitting at -20, the other showing -10, we know we've got a discrepancy. So what we're going to do is we're going to shut the system down. We're going to make sure that's in neutral so that we are at atmospheric pressure. So really important that's in neutral before we open this here. Before we open that, we're also going to open the tap, which will also make sure we are in neutral atmospheric pressure. Once that's open, we can then open this lid. And this needs to be done daily. So at the end of every day, always crucial to check this. And there we have our final filter. So we can undo that with a crescent, and we can take it out and we can wash it on site if we need to with our pressure cleaner. Always check and make sure we don't have any compromise. If there's a compromise in the filter, we do not use it. And normally your company will have a spare one on the shelf, otherwise we can send one overnight. So really crucial, if there's ever a compromise on there, we don't use it. So wash it out, it can be put back in wet, it's not a problem. And then we do this back up. So I'm going to talk about the maintenance for the diesel flush of the vacuum pump. So this little canister here has got diesel in it, and we use it for flushing and moisturising the inside, the internals of the vacuum pump. So when we shut down at the end of the day, we always want to do a diesel flush. So we're going to have the vacuum pump running, we're going to have it in vacuum, and we're going to open this here for 2 seconds, and only 2 seconds. So it's 1, 2, turn off. We then release that back to neutral, and what that's done is it's put a film of diesel through the vacuum pump. And you'll understand that sometimes when we are sucking clay type material, we get a moisture go through the pump that's got a bit of clay in it. When the vacuum pump stops, it's hot, and sometimes that can bind up to the point where you go to start the pump the next morning and the vacuum pump won't start. The hydraulics won't turn it over because it's glued together with that moisture and that residue. By doing the diesel flush, we eliminate that, so it keeps it nice and fluid. So I'm going to talk about the pipe work that we provide with the hydrovacs. So we always have our 6 to 5 reducer. That's for the on the suction boom, and we've got our 5-inch 5-inch digging wand. So we always want to reduce at the end where we're sucking before we go into the 6-inch overhead suction boom pipe. This one here has got additional 2 metre and 1 metre 6-inch hoses that we can provide as well. The hose reel and the wands, we've got our standard hose reel here, 30 metres of hose on it. Obviously between the clicks where it'll lock out, pull it to release it. We also have our digging wand. Now really crucial, this wand is only to be used for hydrovacuum. It's not used for cleaning the truck or doing any cleaning inside the tank. So because it's a ceramic disc, it's got a little seat there that the ceramic disc seat sits on. So really crucial that when we start, we always face it towards the ground so that the ceramic disc is sitting on the seat when the pressure comes on. Really crucial to make sure whenever we start it, it's facing the ground. Once it's started, we can put it wherever we want. But just remember, it's only for hydrovacuum, not for cleaning. We do have a cleaning wand that we provide standard with the truck. And that's this little fella here. And it comes with multiple nozzles as well, so it comes with a spray lance, and it'll go from spray right down to pencil. So the spray lance is for cleaning the truck, cleaning your hoses. When we open the rear door, we can clean the seal, we can clean the sight glasses. So that's our cleaning one. We've got a pencil one in there as well. Really good for if you've got product that's hung up in the front of the tank. We can pencil it out and that'll come away as well. So these here are always sitting in your side cabinet on the passenger side. So really important, before we open any valves or try to open the back door, we make sure that the tank is at atmospheric pressure. So how we do that is we have the 4-way valve in neutral. We're also going to slightly lift the tank up so that we can break the vacuum. Okay, so we know then that we're at atmospheric pressure. The other way we can tell is we can look at this gauge here, and the gauge will be sitting at 0. If that gauge is sitting at 0, our vacuum brake is open, and we're in neutral, we know we're at atmospheric pressure. It is then safe to open any valves and discharge. The only time we won't be at atmospheric pressure is if we are doing the unloading procedure where we're sucking through here and blowing back out. We have got an SOP that explains the safe operating procedures for the unloading or clearing of any blockages. Hydraulic rear door. We've got 3 valves here. That there's your standard load valve. When we open the back door up, you'll see it's got an upstand up inside there. That's for any loading that we want to do that's not involving a suction boom. We've got a discharge, and we've also got a second discharge which we call the decant valve. And that's for decanting water out. If we're on site somewhere we want to get rid of water and we want to keep the product inside, that's a slotted pipe that goes up there that'll only let the water out. So this is how you unload a truck so you don't get product all over everything. We open that up and we've got no product coming out because we've got a whole lot of spoil in here. So we go around to a vacuum control panel and we start the vacuum pump. We go to a 4-way valve and we put that on vacuum. With this open, what that does, it creates a channel through there. It'll suck air into the pump, into the tank, and it'll stir everything up. We can then release the 4-way valve into neutral. The product will come out. So all this watery liquid will come out and we'll leave the other heavy stuff in there. If it doesn't happen the first time, put the 4-way valve back onto vacuum, suck it again, and then we can then go slowly from vacuum into pressure and blow the liquid out. Once we've done that, we can then go to our control panel and open up our rear door, which will then only have spoil in the bottom, makes a whole lot cleaner process for unloading. We've also got our sight glasses on the back here. We clean them once we have the door open. If we ever have to replace them, we've got one of these here. If we get caught on site, that goes in there and we use that there to do it up. Key note here, if we replace a glass, once that there comes into contact with the glass, it's only a quarter of a turn. Okay, if we do it any tighter, when we pull a vacuum up, it'll just shatter. So a quarter of a turn once we come into contact. The door has got hydraulic lockers on it, so we don't have to put a door stay on the back. So when it's open, it's locked. There's no way that it can come down even if we broke a hydraulic hose or we lost all the hydraulic fluid, the door won't come down. Likewise with the door locks are over centre. So if those hydraulic lines break, the door won't come open. Okay, it's over centre, it's safe as safe to continue with no hydraulic oil if that was the case. So the hose reel here at the back is our jetting reel. To unlock it we need to push the button there, we'll hear it click, and sometimes we've got to push it in a little bit to release it before we can pull it out. And then we can pull it out to 45, 90 and right round to 180, so I've got a full 180 swing. Normally we're going to be operating this on our remote control, so we've got our reel in and out here. If for some reason we're not using the remote control or we've got 2 people on the job, we can operate it here as well. So we've got our water pressure that we've got on there. We've also got our pressure showing on the little screen there. We've got our jetter on and off. Our work lights, our vacuum pump on and off if we're using our vacuum pump. The pressure washer we can turn off and on, and we can decrease and increase the water pressure on here as well. Now for the hose reel we've got to push that button in there before we can put it up and down, and that's proportional as well. But not as proportional as we've got on our remote. So ideally we always want to be using our remote where we can. Once again, once everything's turned off, we push the emergency stop and we push that button and we take it back round to the park position. So here we have our control panel, and very similar to the 7000H, we have a control panel here that tells us everything that's going on, all the functionality. And because we don't have a PTO in the cab, we have our PTO switch here. So we come along here, we push the PTO button, which then lights up everything that's able to be used. So anything that's red, we can't. And anything that's blue, we can start. So you'll notice that any of these here that are blue, we can push and start. And anything that's green means it's operational. So you'll notice that the shutter closed will be green because the shutter on the top of the boom is closed. So what we do is we push our PTO button, and then we can use all our functionality through here. So the RPMs, the work lights, the pressure, cleaner, and the vacuum pump on and off. We can also use all our boom functions here, and our hoist and rear door up there, which I'll go over shortly. So when we push our PTO, we can then push our remote control start. So we push that, and then we grab our remote control. Once we've pushed that there, we then make sure that that is unlocked, like that. So we unlock it, turns it on, and then we push those 2 buttons there, and it tells us on there that we're needing to push those 2 buttons, and that'll connect it, and that remote start control will go green. So there we can then use all this functionality here. So on here we've got our boom controls. So all our boom controls are all on the one toggle. So we've got up and down, left and right, turn rotation one way and rotation the other way. So it's a really funky tool. And then we've got our water pressure, our jetter there. So that's for our jetting reel at the back. We can increase the pressure up and down, and we also have a readout on there to tell us what it's doing. And we also have a lockout here, so we can lock the whole remote out if we're not using it. So when we've got our jetter on, we can increase the pressure there, and then we also have this proportional valve for running the reel in and out. So the further we push it, the faster it goes either way. Also on here we've got our vacuum on and off there. So we've got a vacuum switch there. That's our vacuum pump on and off, and that's our boom valve on and off. And on this side here we've got our pressure cleaner. So that's our pressure washer for if we're wanting to do hydro vacuum, just with our smaller 5000 psi 21 litre a minute pump, and we also have our work lights there. So that's the operation of the remote. When we want to stop it, we just push that there and it'll turn the whole PTO system off. So to run through now with the hoist, so we're going to push our PTO on, and rather than the Hydrovacs where we had our control panel through there for the hoist and rear door, we've got it up here now, and it's a bit more simple. So as always, we're always going to want to brake the vacuum with the vacuum brake by lifting the hoist slightly. So PTO on, we're going to push the hoist up slightly, so we've got disconnect there so we know we're at atmospheric pressure. Really, really important. We don't want to be opening doors or valves without being able to do that. So hoist up a little bit. Then we're going to open the door. So we just got a one function here. We open the door, so the door unlocks. The doors will unlock. Once they're all unlocked, then the door will go open. So super simple. And then we're going to put our hoist right up. Always on level ground. And likewise, when we come back down, we go hoist down and we close the door, so the door will come closed. And once the door is closed, then the locks will lock up and we'll hear the beeper stop beeping. We've also got another function on this one here. So where we've got our 3,000 litres of water on the truck, we've got 3,000 at the front and we've got 5,000 at the back. We can combine that into 8,000 litres of fresh water. And how we do that, we've got three functions we do. So before we do it, we're always going to make sure that the spoil tank or the waste tank is really washed out really well. So it's washed out with a high pressure water blaster or high pressure, high flow water. So really, really clean. And in between the dome in here that separates the fresh water and the wastewater, we have a 2-inch valve. When we're washing that out, we wash that valve out as well. And that's just a little butterfly valve. So wash that out really, really clean. And once we've done that, we're all clean there, then we can open that valve so that we can load the whole truck with 8,000 litres of water. And how we do that is this. Three functions. We've got the PTO on. We open the key, safety key, so it's the water valve safety key, we have to do that. We then push the dead man and the water valve. So we've got three things we've got to do. Water valve on, dead man, and water valve open. And that then means that the whole tank will then fill with fresh water. Once again, to shut it, we're going to do the opposite, push that with the water valve and turn that off. So the water tank is filled here by this fill point here that fills the 3,000 litres, or if we're filling the whole tank we can fill the 8,000 litres. Otherwise, the other quicker way to do it, if you wanted to load 8,000 litres of water, then you've got a bulk water storage, is to suck it in through the vacuum pump, with the vacuum pump and through the rear door. But if we're filling the 3,000 litres, that's where we fill it there. We've got a sight tube here with the little indicator that goes up and shows us. It fills through an open manway at the top, so we can pressure fill it through a hydrant if we need to. If we run out of water, we've got a sensor that tells us that we've run out and it'll shut the system down. To restart again after we've refilled it with water, we'll have to go through and we'll need to drain, run the both tanks, that one there and the one on the other side by the pressure pump, so that we've got all the air out of the system. So really, really crucial. We need to do this one here and the one on the other side by the big Hawk pump. We've also got a water filter here, likewise on the other side as well by the Hawk pump. Really, really simple. We push that up like that, pull that down. It'll only drain the water inside there, and then we can open that there up. That way there. And we can clean our filter. Put that back in. And pop that back in the there like that. That'll then allow the water to go back in the filter, and we're also going to drain that again like that to make sure we've got all the air out of the system. If we run our tank out of water, we've got a sensor there that'll turn the pressure cleaner off. Once we fill it back up with water again, we may have an airlock in the system which won't allow us to start. So it will show us on our control panel that we're still out of water, even though the tank might be full. So we need to bleed the water back across the sensor so that the sensor recognises we've got water in. And the way we do that is this tap here. We turn that tap there on and we bleed water out through there, which will then recognise we've got water and we can restart the pressure cleaner. So we've got 3 emergency stops on the unit, one on both sides and one at the back. Whatever operation we're doing and we need to emergency stop, we hit that and it shuts the whole system down. So the motor will turn off, the PDO will disengage. The only way to restart it is to make sure these are back out. We hop back in our truck, start the engine again, and we go through the whole process of restart. So the whole system's run hydraulically. So we've got a hydraulic tank here, shows our level. We should be sitting at that level of oil, and the temperature gauge in there won't fluctuate unless we have a bleed off problem. We've got our cooling fans up the top there. We've got a sensor up there that if the oil ever gets to 80 degrees, it'll shut the system down. Now the only way it'll get to 80 degrees is if we've got a bleed off happening where we're heating up the oil and it's not operating correctly. So under normal operating conditions, even on the hottest day in New Zealand, we'll never reach 80 degrees. Right, to wrap up, I want to run through 4 things we must do daily for our hydrovacs. We want to clean and check our water filter on the other side of the truck to make sure that it's always clean, so we don't starve our water blaster. We always want to make sure this is emptied every time we unload the truck. We open that up, and if we want to check it to make sure it is empty, we can always start the vacuum pump, put it on pressure, and blow it out to make sure it's clear. Number 2. Number 3, we're always going to check our filter at the end of every day to make sure we haven't got any compromise there and it's nice and clean. And the 4th is the diesel flush. So remember, vacuum pump on vacuum, 2 seconds, 1, 2, turn off, back to neutral, shut the pump down.